Joining me right now in the studio is Barry Searle of the Earthquake Commission and Terry Jordan of the Insurance Council. Now, big welcome to the show. Thank you very much, Barry and Terry, for joining me. Now, Barry, you're the National Operations Manager for the Earthquake Commission, and Terry, you're the Operations Manager for the Insurance Council.
That's right.
So I think you are both the perfect gentlemen to be asking quite operational questions. What I want to talk to you about is something that I personally find quite confusing. It's something that I haven't had a lot of experience with. However, for people out there who are involved in multi-unit buildings and multi-unit dwellings, it can be extremely complicated. Barry, can I just start with you? What is the difference between a multi-unit building, a multi-unit dwelling and a shared property?
Okay, I suppose for simplification, a multi-unit building and a shared property are the same thing.
Okay.
By another name. It's any building with more than one dwelling that has a dependency on another dwelling within that building. That dwelling is a multi-unit dwelling. So a number of buildings owned under a number of different types of ownership models, being cross-lease or body corp type ownership models within the same building are multi-unit buildings.
Okay, so to use kind of layman terms, a cross-lease where you've got, what, a row of townhouses on the same property?
Terrace properties, yeah.
Okay.
We have a number of dwelling units joined together with a common element like a firewall, so
Right,
they're actually
okay.
joined together. Normally those would be insured with different insurers, and that's one of the complexities we'll deal with shortly, but that a body corp slightly different, where they are normally under one insurer. They're still in the same joined together arrangement, but have one insurer.
Okay, and then the multi-unit dwelling would be more like you think of as an apartment block type setup?
The dwelling is one of those units within the multi-unit building. So if you've got a multi-unit building with 4 dwellings in it, then you've got a multi-unit dwelling that makes that building.
Goodness, okay, so we're talking supersets and subsets here,
Yeah.
if I'm going back to my old maths days. All right, good, thank you. It is a bit complex. Now, Terry, talking about complex, a complex shared property then, what does that mean?
A complex shared property is one that's got a lot more difficulties about it than just the simple ones. So for example, they have 3 or more units in a row, or they have 3 or more insurers in the block. They can have defective titles, complex legal problems, or they can be just difficult construction, foundation design, or they can have significant property owner difficulties.
As well,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, so you are talking seriously complicated here. So now tell me, there was a pilot project that was initiated. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the pilot project, once insurers realised how complex these were, because remember, insurers always dealt with their own properties in isolation from any other insured property.
So was this the first time a lot of these insurance companies had to talk to each other?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and you know, they're fiercely competitive, so they don't like talking to each other, you know, in that respect. But all of a sudden they found they had to talk to each other because property next door suffered damage, properties above and below suffered damage, and they had to repair. So if you're repairing a wall, you have to take a wall down, you're exposing the property next door.
Right.
That's why it becomes so complex.
So a pilot project was initiated, why?
Pilot project was initiated to gather some learnings to see how we would develop a process to handle these. So there were 10 properties that were put into that pilot project, and as we stepped through them, they found they had to appoint loss adjusters, and they developed a process that was able to account for all of the complexity of these dwellings.
So once you kind of nutted out a few of the issues that were going to be ongoing here, could you then roll it out to the wider community?
Yeah, we moved from the SPP, the Shared Property Pilot, to the SPP, the Shared Property Project.
Right.
And then we've put on a lot more properties into the project now. So currently we've got 182 properties, and these are the seriously complex properties, shared properties.
So a lot of these properties that are quite central to Christchurch, or are they in outlying areas as well?
They're all over
Okay.
Christchurch, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so those 182 sites have around about 900, they've got 920 flats. So there's a lot of people we're dealing with.
Yeah, that is. And everybody, of course, has their own baggage and their own story to bring into that too.
Well, yeah.
With the Insurance Council, what's your role? How do you end up in the middle of this? Are you mediating between these different insurance?
Not mediating, probably facilitating is a better word.
Okay.
So we're working with the insurers, EQC, Searle, City Council to help pull this together. And we've appointed a shared property project manager to manage the whole process.
Okay. Barry, from an Earthquake Commission point of view, this is probably areas that you hadn't expected were going to come up post-earthquake. How is the Earthquake Commission kind of changing moving forward for how it handles these sorts of multi-unit buildings?
I think the first thing to point out is that we don't have any visibility of our customers until a claim's lodged. We don't insure people. We are advised by the insurers at claim time, or by the customer at claim time they're lodging a claim, so we have no visibility. Back in November 2012, when the repair program was sort of well underway, discovering that there were overcapped properties who were joined to undercapped properties with shared dependencies, shared elements that were damaged, realising we needed to identify which of these properties were going to take special care. Some of these could be dealt with in isolation, repaired independently because there were no crossover with elements like damaged party walls or roofs or foundations. Some needed to be treated with a bit more complex, and therefore the insurer would be involved in the repair with the EQC. So going forward, we are trying to educate people, and I think with the insurers saying you need to talk to your neighbours.
Yeah, I think, in fact, it's amazing. It had never really occurred to me, of course, that EQC or the Earthquake Commission doesn't actually know about these things because your contact has been through the insurance companies. Interesting. What about the uninsured customer? How do they fit into it?
Yeah, that's always a difficult one. The uninsured customer, it causes major complexities. So the insurers, through the loss adjuster, when they bring the people together, they have to work out, what's the impact of that. The uninsured customer hasn't got the funds. If they haven't got the funds to rebuild, they have to work out a way around that. Now, there's been some fairly pragmatic ways that they've managed to get around some of those problems. In one case, the other property owners bought the uninsured property owner out.
Okay.
And they will fund the rebuild of that unit, and then they'll sell it and then recover their funds that way.
Goodness.
But there are other ways. The uninsured property owner has been, on occasions, gone to the banks and that and had it funded. So there are ways around it, but you have to think outside the square for some solutions.
And of course, all of this takes time as well.
Yeah.
So this is where, from an Earthquake Commission point of view, it's dragging out the whole process, isn't it?
Our role is relatively minor in that we've got around about 35 properties in the shared property program with the insurers.
Okay.
So across the total numbers, we've got a very small number left but we still need to work with the insurers and the customers, our customers, to effect a managed repair across, or facilitate a managed repair with the insurers through the SPP.
It really is quite a jigsaw. Barry and Terry, thank you very much for joining me. So now stay with us, because coming up after the break, we're going to be looking at Southern Response and what Arrow International call their eyes under the floor.